Now we're going to talk about the Sawzall. The Sawzall is a all-purpose tool. It has, when you're out in a construction site, when somebody normally pulls out a Sawzall, it's because they screwed something up. All right. It does really nice work if you have to do something quick. All right. Or if you got to do tedious stuff of cutting on pipe. They normally use it in pipe. You can use it to trim trees or cut 2x4s or whatever, but it's typically a tool that contractors use to fix a problem. So let's discuss this a little bit. It has a self-locking, pivoting type chuck in it. All right. It has what is known as a pistol grip, all right, where your hand can wrap around it. That's why they call it a pistol grip. All right. This has brushes, as you can see. All right. So if it starts to wear out, there's brushes on both ends, and you replace those, and your tool will probably continue moving on with you, no problems. This also has a trigger, and you notice that it does not have a trigger lock. All right. This also has the speed control, 1 to 5, I think it goes on this. All right. Now, as your book has said in the past, 5 is going to be pretty quick. So you can use that for, let's say, lumber, all right, light steel, all right. But if you get into thicker stuff, you got to turn it down, okay? The other neat thing about this is it has a plug that's known as a twist lock, all right? Now, if you notice on this twist lock, there's a little nub right here at the top. And if you look inside here, the little nub has to match up with this one down here. So what you want to do is insert the little notch into the notch hole. All right. And it should, with a little, you don't have to force it, but be sure that it's lined up correctly. Push in and then twist. All right. Now it's locked into position. Excuse me. Again, always check the cords, because we check them ourselves, but we don't know if somebody has damaged something in between the process. Now let's talk about blades on this thing. They come in all shapes and all sizes. All right. As you can understand with your book, they talk about the TPI, all right, teeth per inch. All saws have the TPI, okay? Typically they're written on the side here, all right? This is 14 teeth per inch, all right? But typically that will be removed. You want to check your blade that it's not missing teeth or they're run down. And in here you really need to do that, because some people just don't take the time to check these things. All right, they'll have broken teeth on them from twisting the tool. So if they do, and this one does have some broken teeth here, all right, paint's still on here, all right, here's a couple chipped teeth, all right, but you want to buy the blade to fit the project, all right. You want to use as much of this blade as you can, all right. Don't go buy a 12-inch blade and cut half-inch material with it, all right. Common sense. You notice this one has less teeth per inch, all right. Different brand, all right. Wood cutting bit. You notice that people have misused this on numerous occasions, all right? But it still cuts, but you don't want to use it because it gets jammed up in there. You're going to be the recipient of it, all right? And again, you see how some people just used a little bit of this, all right? We do have the blades that fit the material that you're trying to cut. So here's a new blade. As you see, Lennox makes one, and then Milwaukee makes one. One half does another. I prefer to use both of these. I think this one does better job on metal, and it holds up better. Milwaukee, very powerful blade, especially with the wood cutting bits that they have, or saw blades. So what I want to do is show you how to insert, and the first thing we're going to cut is the lumber. So I put my tool up, I twist open my locking device, all right, my chuck key. Now I insert it and release the chuck key, chuck collar for a better word, all right, and check my blade to be sure that it's still in place, all right. Now trust me, seen it done, all right. You can use it this way, but it's not preferred, all right. If you're getting into something really tight, you may need to do that. But remember, common sense tells me that I just drop it in, lock it into place, all right. Now, before I haven't discussed, but we do have hearing protection, and we also have the little plug hearing protection. It's all located either at the tool crib or in the lockout, tag out, safety area. Our gloves and our glasses. Now, we're going to plug into our power. Again, look at the prongs on this. It's a little bent, but I can bend it back without hurting the plug itself. If this is so badly abused, then let us know and we'll switch it out. Now, let's talk about a few things here. The shoe plate is very important on this tool, because if you do not put your force against the shoe plate and you're cutting wood and metal, you're going to end up having it way out here jerking you around. Not a good thing to do. All right? Remember, always keep the blade off the material that you're cutting until you have it at full RPMs. All right? Without touching the wood, check to be sure that everything's working on the tool itself. Remember we were talking about the saws yesterday, about a saw kerf? Well, there is no saw kerf on this operation. All right? Once you've dug into the material, you got to go continuously all the way through it. And what you notice with some people is when you start cutting, especially metal, you got to keep that RPMs steady all the way through. Full RPMs until you come through it all the way. If not, it will jerk on you. All right? So here is an example of not using it correctly. Not good. Okay? Here's the way it should be operated. Good pistol grip, trigger finger, up off my work, full RPMs. All the way through. All right? Now you notice that that blade, if you're using wood, it's going to tear it up. All right? So that's what we want you to understand when you go to put the tool of work out here at the exercise. Now, you can continue cutting, and I think you're supposed to be doing like 3 cuts All right. So once you're done with those 3 cuts, make sure that you unplug it because you're going to switch over to a metal blade now. All right. So let's go through that process. All right. Now I'm switching over to a metal blade. Unlock my collar. And for simplicity, I'm going to use a brand new blade. Insert it, release the collar, and then I'm going to show you how to use this vise to put metal in it once again. All right, now we've taken our block of wood out and we want to reverse this to use it for metal. Remember, never put something round on a flat surface. So what you need to do is you pull the pin, rotate it, make sure all the handles are out of the way. All right, rotate it and release it. Make sure it locks into place. Now, bring that up, start closing the jaws on it. Now, for simplicity purposes, we're going to just slide this 1/2 inch EMT through there, and you only want about 6 inches showing up. All right? Finish tightening it up. Make it firm. You don't have to over tighten anything. All right? Now we have our metal cutting bit. We're going to plug in our cord again. Remember I was telling you about if you make a mistake in wood, it's not crucial. You make a mistake on this metal and it's going to be crucial. First thing we need to do is ensure that we're at a number 3 on this. All right? Just like anything else, we don't want the blade going so fast that it burns up. All right? Again, the shoe plate must be against your work solidly. The blade up off the work, full RPMs. All right. You notice I had control of the tool at all times. All right. I just don't let it go down and stick into my leg or anything. All right. You got to pay attention. Let me show you what you don't want to do. You don't want to set that blade on here and then have the shoe plate away from your work. All right? Because this is what ends up happening. I don't care how strong you are, it's going to take over. All right? If I'm out here, it may work for a little bit, but you see how if I keep changing the speed, all right, you want that work up against it, off the work, bring it all the way down through. All right? Unplug the tool because the next student's going to be using it, and they're going to do the same thing as you just finished watching me do. Now again, we're here to teach you how to use these tools. If the instructor says cut me a piece and you're not really comfortable with that tool, just keep cutting, a couple inch pieces off. All right, you don't have to cut a foot off. All right, we're trying to conserve material. All right, but just I want you to be thoroughly, understandably knowledgeable about this equipment before you leave our house. All right?